My name is Maurice Igugu, and I work with Sterling Bank. And we'll be talking about basically COVID-19, the pandemic, and what has happened on a global scale and how it affects. I mean, it's obvious. We all know how it affects all industries generally, including the creative, tech, and marketing industry. I think it's hit us harder, or it hit us quite hard because we may not be considered to be essential services in that sense. We'll talk about that, and then how we can turn this adversity into an advantage for us. Basically, just giving us one or two guidelines or two tips that can help us juggle our brains. Generally, everybody speaks of downsides at this moment. Reduce your expansion efforts. But I happen to think otherwise. This could be a good opportunity while everybody's trying to shrink for you as an individual and also as an organization to grow your business and look for opportunities and how you can reach out to people. Just basically go through a few points, and then I will ask for questions if you have any. Right, I hope we can all hear too. Okay, so about the pandemic, generally, we know what has hit us. It's a global thing, and every single person is affected one way or the other. There's really nowhere to hide. There's no island you can go and hide and not be affected. It's basically affected the industries. The aviation industry has been hard because there's hardly any plane flying right now. And so this is the reality we find ourselves. Is the reality we find ourselves. If you were told last year, December, that this was going to happen, you probably think it was a movie or a dream, but this is it. So what next? That's the question we need to now ask ourselves. I generally say that there are three categories of people, of organizations as well. The people who probably get knocked out by this. And so we find companies already declaring bankruptcy. We find organizations already going under and laying off staff to survive. Then there's the second group who probably will just survive through this. They will do all they can, shed all the weight they can, and manage to go through this and come out on the other side. And then there's the category of people who will thrive and excel. Actually, this would be a moment where they actually redefine what they do, expand in ways that they never imagined, and come out to be innovators. At the end of the day, they actually get a larger market share and mind share as well. So question is, where would we place ourselves? There's this conversation, Winston Churchill, it's attributed to him, that you never let a crisis go to waste. You know, so when a crisis hits, you should ask yourself questions: how and what can I do? Because in a lot of cases, opportunities come disguised in the with the mask of adversity. So it looks like this is a hard situation, but if you actually sit down and think properly, you find that there is an opportunity right there staring at you, with which you can actually rise and become a better person, innovate and become something different actually. Okay, so right now we know, even though we have businesses eased out businesses, people are now going back to work little by little, but we know that priorities also is still essential services. I was reading a conversation where I think it was the Minister of Information or someone was saying that the hardest hit is the creative industry, the film industry, because there's really no filming going on, except for those who find a way of innovating around it. The theater industry, the cinema industry, music industry, there's hardly really anything going on in those sectors apart from if you're deemed essential. So question is, are we essential? So I'll just give a little hint as to what I think. Truth of the matter is, not all these industries actually exist outside of the creative industry. Even though you find medicine deemed as essential, there always lies some form of innovation that medicine needs to make in order to reach its audience, where you now come in. For example, the telemedicine idea and people building apps, it's the tech industry. The fact that you may not be deemed, the creative industry may not be deemed as essential, doesn't mean that we shut down and go to bed. The creative way to still reach out to people and deliver services that are relevant at this moment, and get your mind share, your market share, um, from the conversation. So we'll just go through, this will take probably 10, 15 minutes, survival toolkit, some conversations that I just penned down that I thought would be relevant for everyone to know. The first question I'd like to ask is, who are you? In this survival toolkit, the answer that you give to this will determine how you see yourself, will determine what you eventually do with this pandemic and with this situation, this adversity. So who are you? I find a lot of people defining themselves as, I'm a copywriter, so there's no copy to write right now. I'm a designer, so there's no design to do right now. Nobody's giving me briefs. Or I'm a software developer. So if that's the label you put on yourself and that's how you define yourself, therein lies a big problem. I've often told people that the only reason why a job, job trends in terms of how jobs shift, the only reason why it will affect you and knock you off your feet in terms of how businesses are now moving towards new trends is because you see yourself stuck in a, should I say, a role. You should see yourself as a solution provider, one who finds creative ways to prefer solutions, and that will always be there at every point in time. It will never go out of fashion. So your copywriting is just a tool for you to get there. Your app development is just a tool for you to get there. Your designs are just tools for you to get there. But as long as you see yourself really as a copywriter, you will be stuck in copywriting. So who are you? Are you just what you do, or are you a solutions person, one who's providing solutions, who's going ahead to prefer solutions for problems? So when an adversity hits, you find that you can actually come up with ideas around whatever it is that is happening currently to help people who are stranded, who are in a situation where they can't leave their homes, to provide entertainment for them, to provide to bring what it is really looking out for right into their homes. So questions around the toolkit. Number one, your response to the pandemic. What will be your response? At this moment, it will be time for you to actually reveal your authentic quality. And if you care, find ways to show it. This will be this is an opportunity for you to actually sit down and think, who really am I? And how can I reveal the authentic person that I am in ways that show that I care? Honestly, at this moment, it is people who care, who can reach out to provide solutions that that will get the environment that is necessary for you to grow your business. However it is that you find your authentic quality and authentic voice, you need to actually look inwards and create the connection to what is going on. I happen to work in the banking industry where somehow everyone driven by numbers, everyone driven by hitting their targets, wants to call out and sell their products. But every time they come to me to sell the product, I want to sell this, I want to do that, I ask them one question. This message that you have, this product that you have, how is it relevant in a lockdown? How do you want to start communicating a product that requires your customers to walk into a branch when there are no branches open? How do you want to communicate a product that requires your customers to take an action that is not possible at this moment? Automatically it makes your marketing useless. So it's you need to ask yourself what's relevant at this moment. How can I actually do this? Can I, for example, if I have a card service, I want you to come and get a card because I think that using your card to do your transactions will help to ease your challenge. How can I do a delivery service to you? So you register online, you get your card details, and I can actually deliver that card service to you in a lockdown. That makes sense. Or how can I make cards contactless such that I'm not touching any surface? So these are the kind of things you now begin to think about and find ways in which you can respond in a way that shows that you care and you're thinking about your customers. Okay. Second point is explore new ways of doing, which is basically part of what we just talked about. How can I do the same thing I've been doing in a way that in a different way to ease the pain of my customers? How can I do things differently? How can I educate them? Because this may be a time where you need to educate people, where you need to tell them the reality of what's going on. So one of the things we did at Sterling, for example, was to do an online game, a very simple, easy game, but it kind of highlighted, it's a fun game, it kind of highlighted the little things that you need to know to stay safe. You know, you can find at sterling.ng/COVID-19 that teaches you about social distancing. So basically, the viruses are trying to attack you, and you need tools to protect yourself from those viruses. And you can click on any of those tools at every point in time to protect yourself. And when you fail, they hit you, and you lose, and you keep losing your life. So it was a fun game, and a lot of people loved it, but it kind of ingrained in people's minds the fact that I need to socially distant, or rather maintain my social distance. I rather call it physical distance, actually. So I need to physical distance because we all need the social life, actually. We can't run away from it. So I need to physically distant. I need to use my hand sanitizers, wash my hands often. So those lessons, those kind of points that we brought to our customers made them love it. And even though it was not a direct sale, we're not selling anything to you at that point in time, but you kind of just have Sterling in the back of your mind that, wow, they gave me education, at the same time gave me fun. You know, so what are the ways which you can deliver the same services in delivering something different and do it in a different way that now shows that you actually care? Then this, which nobody should be considering, will be prepare for post-lockdown, because it's going to happen. The virus is not going to be here forever. It will eventually, actually, we see that a lot of countries are now saying the curve is actually flattening. So I heard the other time a countries say that for days they've not found any new case. So this will happen. Question is, how are you preparing for it? How are you going to face the new normal? In initial phases, you will have the social distance thing. Imagine it's a theater, for example. So there's a cinema theater. What are the things you can do in a cinema theater to open up in time and also protect people? You show that you care for your customers who are coming in to watch a cinema. Do you want to remove some chairs so that the social distancing create glass, what's called glass panels around each person who attends, just to show that you care? What are the ways in which you can do this? I mean, if you think deep, you'll find ways to do this. So how are you preparing for the new normal? What would be good or bad normal? Later on, we'll come across a map, or less like an adversity map, if you like. That means they'll joggle your mind as to, you begin to think of the possibilities so that you can plan. If it turns out to be A, you're prepared. If it turns out to be B, you're prepared, you know. So what if it's a good normal, if it's a bad normal? How do I prepare for this? Yeah, so how do you prepare for post-lockdown? Then finally, what must I do to hit the ground running at this point in time? You know, it's okay to have your plans, but it's also important for you to start early, seize the early initiative to make sure that you've just started when everybody has run ahead of an airline. For example, throughout this period where most airlines were shut down, they were busy fitting their airplanes with our virus protection kits and all that. Make sure that post lockdown, people feel safe and secure to enter into the air, to use them. So while others were shut down, locked down, and saying, you know what, business isn't working, there's nothing we can do. Some others were seizing the initiative to, first of all, do the maintenance of the airplanes, make sure it's top notch. Probably something they've been trying to do for a long time, and the demand for their service didn't allow them to do it. But suddenly they now have a break, so they fixed all the airplanes, made sure everything's on 100% functionality, and then they've even gone ahead to plan for post-lockdown. So they've probably fit in virus protection kits in whatever way it is. Maybe when you're walking in, there's a sanitized spray that makes sure that you're clean, whatever it is that they'll do, you know. But how do you plan for the early initiative? How do you seize the early initiative? So for us as designers and as creative people, you have clients, and what you should be doing is giving them some of the solutions so you stay relevant in their minds, because it's the people whoever gives me a solution that works to help my business thrive, the person I'll be referring back or you know, going back to post lockdown. So we'll just go through a few useful links, some links I found useful that I think will help us. One of them is COVID19innovations.com. You can go check it out. There are about 800 different innovations from around the world, and what people have basically done to make sure that stay relevant, they connect to the audience, they show that they care. About 800 innovations from around the world. It's called COVID-19 Innovations. You can go check it out. I'm sure you find something to inspire you. One of what I found quite interesting is a Zoom meeting alone and sneak away. So someone created something where, because you know everybody's going online now to have conversations like what we're doing right here. There's no physical meetings or hardly any physical meetings. So what people are doing, or what this guy has decided to do is, you know what, I'm having so many meetings today, and I also need to double and do something else during this meeting. So I can basically just record myself, and it does it all automatically for you. You record yourself, and everybody thinks you're around in that everybody thinks you're right there, you know, because they can see you moving. Because they're not actually looking, it's a loop actually. It's a looped video. So they see you moving, they see you there, and they just, meanwhile, you're somewhere else doing something else till you can sneak back in. You know, I found that interesting because, you know, with thousands of meetings here and there, it would be nice to have every now and then. Yeah, so that I found interesting, and you can check out covidinnovations.com. Another one which I spoke about is, this is actually for accountants, but I thought it was interesting. It's called the Disruption Map Tool. And you can actually, Google Disruption Map Toolkits and find the one that fits you best. I didn't get to finish this, but the basic thing is, I think here, you identify the likely change or trend. What are the things that can change as COVID is a reality? What are the possible things that can change with my personal business, with the job that I do? You know, how can I explore the implications? What are the first order consequences and even the second order consequences. How can it affect me individually? How can it affect the businesses? I heard the speaker yesterday talk about the fact that, for example, uh, if China is not open, and I used to produce I used to produce my merchandise from China. What are the alternatives? Can I do right now? Can I look for, can I source locally? You know, um, can I source locally? So what are the first order consequences? Then analyze the possible futures, which is the same thing as basically prepare for post-lockdown. What are the possible futures? How can I map the possible futures as it affects my business, and how can I identify actions and take next steps? I think bottom line is what now end up doing. That's what matters most. Another link which I like to share is I follow trend hunters, and I find some of their innovations or some of their reports quite interesting and useful. So it's trendhunter.com. Basically, it's about 100 disruptive opportunities out there. So what they do is they look at what's happening now, look at what's possibly going to happen in the next quarter, in the next 6 months or 1 year, and businesses that are already taking advantage of it. And then they put it all out there for you to see. It's just a way of juggling your mind and realizing I can actually do this, in my little space. It helps you deliver better service for your clients. One of the things I find with agencies that I've worked with, because I've worked with quite a lot of agencies, and if I mention them, you most likely know them, is that they're kind of like giggle, garbage in, garbage out kind of, you talk about how when I give you a brief, you spit the brief right back at me. But like I said, the first question I asked was, who are you? If you see yourself as an agency person, what you do is spit the same thing they're giving you back at the client. And once the client likes it, I move on to the next one. But we must see ourselves as solution providers, such that when an agency gives you a brief, you put the brief down. I know this scope is limited, this is what they want, but how can we actually enhance this and make it better? What are the other things I can bring in? Can we have a microsite, even though what we're looking for is just a post on social media? Can we have a microsite that solves this problem and, just create engagement? That way they look at you, that there's some respect they have for you when you do that, rather than just a give me, I give you back kind of thing. So here, my trend hunters will give you a lot of ideas on how you can deliver great service, and that should be it. Thank you very much.